Hey everyone, today we're watching another Kim Iverson video. It's titled, Is America Heading Towards Civil War?
Talk about the uniparty. And I don't mean the political uniparty, at the top taking all the money from the same people. And so they just end up advocating for the same causes, usually war, endless war. They all stand up and give standing ovations whenever there's talk of war at the State of the Union address. I want to talk about the uniparty inside the voting population, the public. It's been really disheartening to watch the right become the left. And, I think a lot of us during COVID hoped that when we saw the right changing and being the only ones that were standing up for freedom and against the censorship and, just really being the ones that were talking sense into just life as the liberals were going totally and completely, liberals had completely lost their mind. I mean, after 2016, liberals had just reeled into derangement. I mean, they could not see straight. The whole, anytime you mentioned Donald Trump, they started foaming at the mouth. They wanted to censor everybody. They called everybody a Nazi. Everybody was a fascist. Everybody was a racist. Everybody was a bigot. If you voted for Donald Trump, you were the worst person on the planet. You have to stop these Nazis and fascists at any way, shape, or punch them in the mouth if you have to, right? And if you say, well, both sides, how dare you both sides this? Remember that when they would say that all the time? There's no both siding this. Don't both sides this. And there's good people on both sides. Trump said that. Oh, how dare you both sides this? There are not. One side is horrible. One side are Nazis. One side are fascists. One side's ruining the country. That's what liberals would say. And they would just go, they just went absolutely freaking crazy. They went out there and they were canceling everybody. How dare you say this thing? And so now we're going to call up your boss and we're going to get you fired. Right? We're going to do all these crazy things. And I think during COVID, a lot of us saw the right behaving differently. And we saw, and many of us who came from more traditional leftist circles thought, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I'm actually aligning with the right. I cannot believe that, this group that I was told was just like these evil demons, I'm actually aligning with them more than I am with the left. And I always come from the left. And there were many of us that felt that way and many of us that flipped kind of over to the other side. Only to have this other side now fail, just miserably going into the exact same woke brain that the left went into. What am I seeing all day today? I am seeing so many right-wing accounts on X celebrating canceling people. They are actively out there canceling people. One account on Twitter was saying, I had to contact over 250 companies today about their employees. And all of these people on the right were championing them, saying, oh, good for you. Good, you're doing the Lord's work. That's amazing. What was this person contacting 250 companies for, you might ask? Oh, to cancel people. They were reporting employees like a liberal. They were reporting employees who were, in their mind, celebrating Charlie Kirk's death or, not, basically that's what they were doing. They were like, anybody who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, they are despicable and we are going to get you fired. We're going to get you reported. That is cancel culture. That is exactly what it is. It is people saying something you don't like. You find it distasteful. This is what the liberals were doing. You're a racist. You made racist remarks. We don't tolerate racism in this country. We're going to get you fired. And they would go and they would contact 250 employers to get people fired. And now the right is literally doing this exact same thing. And when I pointed it out, what did they say? They said, how dare you both sides this?
Kim Iverson is right on the mark when it comes to this, in my opinion. I heavily agree with her anyways. In this particular case, I'm a bit disappointed in the way that the right has been reacting so far. They were definitely the conservatives were definitely the common sense side when it came to the COVID argument, and now we see them equally being as driven by emotion as the liberal side was during COVID. And it's really sad to see. Because I think, as Kim was talking from the perspective of somebody who sort of lies in the middle, right? I wouldn't consider myself overly conservative or overly liberal. I actually would say I'm probably lean more towards conservative, but my view on tolerance is very liberal in the sense where just like the reason for the freedom of speech was probably due to the level of tolerance that the leaders had. So I think it's important for people to be able to tolerate each other's ideas and speech. I don't think it's a good idea to be bigoted, because I think that's what leads to these extreme situations where you end up acting like a hypocrite, just to essentially do what the other side did, just because of how emotionally enraged you are. So you're willing to forego all your morals, everything that you stood up for, just because you feel that you are right now and you are getting revenge or whatever it might be. It's not healthy. And I think just like Kim, most of us sit in the middle, and there needs to be better approaches to this.
Where have I heard that phrase before? I'm sorry. Am I talking to somebody on the right or on the left? The words are exactly the same. I can't tell the difference. How dare you both sides this? I've been hearing that for years from the left. And now the right is literally saying the exact same things. The right is literally doing the exact same things that the left, that they hated the left for. Cancel culture. Both sides. How dare you both sides? No, that side is evil. We're different. That side's evil. How dare you? Right. I heard that from the left for years about you. And then I'm seeing, Donald Trump, who claimed that he was going to come into the presidency to tone down divisiveness and to bring us all together. And he's making the media circuit tour, blaming everything on the left, saying, well, yeah, there might be radicals on both sides, but the left, that's different. That's worse. That's bad. I mean, that sounds like Nancy Pelosi, AOC. That sounds like Democrats who were saying, no, the right was just a bunch of fascists. And then you've got, right-wingers talking out of both sides of their mouth today, saying the violence that fell upon Charlie Kirk is a direct result of Democrats calling us fascists. When you say that we're radical fascist Nazis, and you've been going around saying this for years, what do you think's going to happen? People are going to start trying to kill us, and that's what's happening. People are trying to kill us. We're having assassination attempts. And they're right. You shouldn't be saying things that lead to this sort of radicalization, right? I mean, if you literally are saying the other side's Nazis and they're trying to kill us, then you're going to end up with people who they think it's self-defense. So they're saying that, and then at the same time, literally turning around and calling Democrats fascists and saying that they're dangerous. So doing the exact thing that they claimed led to the violence against Charlie Kirk. Now they're doing it against the left. And now you've got a bunch of people online on the right saying we've got to do something about these liberals, like talking like they've got to enact violence against liberals.
And that's really sad, right? And I tell you what, it's not really of benefit for either side to dehumanize the other side, right? Because, I mean, long term, you are living in a country with these other people. All you're doing is raising tensions, right? And I think, as I said, most of us lie in the middle, and we need to stop falling for the talking points that seem to be spun up around us. At the end of the day, being a hypocrite is never the right thing to do, right? So we need to remember how we felt when we were in the victim position and show the same grace towards the other side when we are the ones that feel a bit righteous and they're the on the victim side, theoretically, right? So you need to be able to look at others with differing opinions and show respect for them. And that's where everything is falling apart these days. Everybody thinks that they are on the right side, the most righteous side, and the other side is a bunch of demons. And that gets us nowhere.
In order to stop liberals from being violent. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. I need to control you in order to give you freedom. I mean, that's what that sounds like. That's like what the left tried to do to us during COVID, right? Where I need to control you in order for there to be freedom. And now the right is saying, I need to cause violence against you in order for you to not, in order to stop the violence. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just seeing this hypocrisy. I mean, and look, and then people are saying, yeah, but Kim, people should not be celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. You know how many people on the right mocked Paul Pelosi, an elderly man being beat up with a hammer? And then when I point that out, what is their response? That's different. How is that different? Because he survived, and it was his gay lover. So what? Like you're saying, he had it coming to him. The right still acted the exact same way. If Rachel Maddow were shot and killed, I guarantee you that the right would not suddenly have more morals and ethics than the left on this one. They'd be celebrating the death of Rachel Maddow. Let's just get real on that. And let's not pretend like one side is better than the other morally or ethically, because you know what? It's looking a lot the same. Kind of like just one big uniparty. And it turns out the uniparty's not just from the people above that are controlling everything, but it's the voters too. The voters reeling into the same derangement. And what have I seen from the right? Cancel culture, not only cancel culture, censorship culture, wanting to censor these pro-Palestine voices, right? We got to censor, we got to deport them. I mean, this is, talk about cancel culture to an extreme. I mean, that's the most extreme form of cancel culture, not just getting you fired from your job and ruining your life, but actually trying to deport you out of the country. And then you might say, if you're listening, if you're watching, but Kim, this is different. No, it isn't. No, it actually isn't. It actually isn't different. You're literally the same. You were just born into a different family in a different state in a different community. But if you were born on the other side, you'd be just as rabid, foaming at the mouth for that team rather than the team that you're on. It's just a matter of circumstance of where you're born, but you literally have the same brain. And you have the exact same response to anything you don't like.
I think Kim is equally as frustrated as I am watching all of this news, and, you know, this news that seems to be built on purpose to put people into an enraged state. And, you know, we thought that people knew better after COVID, you know, and when we're seeing this go on, gathering from her tone of voice, it's extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. We thought that this, like the past few years, has called upon a lot of us to change the way we view the world, because it is obviously not that idealistic way that it once was, and to realize who the real enemies of true human potential is. And it's those who are limiting this unity, for sure.
And it's all exactly the same. And those of us that are independent, and those of us that really don't care about either side, and those of us that really don't play to either side, those of us that, you know, we're just pointing out when people are just pointing out things on both sides, and when you do good, great, we'll praise it, and when you do bad and you're an idiot, we'll point that out. And those of us that are in that space are looking at both sides thinking you've both lost your minds. You're both rabid, foaming at the mouth, deranged, partisan, insane. How do we break this? The big question is, how do we get people out of this? Is there nothing we can do? Is there nothing we can do? Is this just the human condition? And we're just stuck with this?
I think this is an interesting argument. I think there's some truth to it. I think the fact of the matter is there is a human condition where, you know, people in power have studied for generations, you know, centuries, how to manipulate a populace. And I'm sure what they do is they lean into this human condition. They play everybody against each other on purpose. They know that if they give this group some benefits, it'll cause resentment within society. They'll give it a bit of time, let it build up. When it gets out of control, then they can somehow put things on the other side to sort of, you know, rebalance, or so they say. But what they're actually doing is they're about to make the other side, you know, be the next sort of target of everybody else, because they're going to be like, well, that's unfair. Why did they get that benefit, right? And so this is how the game is played, right? When it comes to you and me, we go to school and we learn about math and English, and, you know, rulers, they go to school and learn how to run a population, right? How to manage it.
That no matter what, you're just going to, humans are humans. I mean, and that's the thing, is that people right now, especially those of you on the right that are watching this and disagreeing with me, you're not any different than the other humans on the left. They're humans too. You have to remember that. They're humans. They're not lizard people. They're not aliens. They're not things. They're not, they're human beings. You're a human being. And you're both wired exactly the same way. We all are. And you're not operating any differently. You've just swapped out what you believe to be the important things, but you're failing to realize that they believe these other things were important. You just have different things you find important, but you're behaving exactly the same way towards those things you find important and towards people and things. I mean, it's really disheartening. And I think the big question is, now what? How do we break people from this sort of tribal, foaming at the mouth, partisan politics, that partisan team sport? It's beyond that, though. They believe it's almost like a right of blood, like being a Democrat or a Republican is like in your blood, like a birthright, which is really strange. It's just a choice. You can flip it at any time. You don't have to be either or. But people.
And she's obviously discussing the American system, Democrat and Republican, but because she's in America, she probably doesn't know that what is playing out around the world is that exact same thing. Like my previous video where I was watching Chris Boy at a protest. They were bringing Charlie Kirk into it, right? And so that's already going to be polarizing for sure, right? And then the people that were screaming at the speaker at the rally, they were essentially saying, look at England. If you support Tommy Robinson, you know what I mean? Like, they're against other people bringing other countries' issues into the problem, but then yet they do the same thing, right? And going back to the point of what Kim was saying is it's not just something that's happening in the States. It's something that's happening everywhere. They've created such a good model where it's almost like pop culture, right? Like they can influence the whole world politically now. Politics has become pop culture.
People act like it's almost like you're insulting my family if you criticize my side. It's like, I mean, this is just a political thought. You can literally change it tomorrow. What would it matter? You could change it right now. You could change your mind. You could go and register the other side tomorrow. How do we get people out of that? How do we get people to, realize that they're just playing into this is what the elites want because they just want us to keep fighting with each other. They love it when we're squabbling with each other and not paying attention to the fact that they're all a big uniparty. And, here we are still being canceled. We're still being censored. We're still being demonized. It's just coming now from the right. The right has gone rabid. And that's only going to make the left more rabid. And then the right becomes more rabid. And we're just reeling ourselves into a civil war because everybody thinks the other side is like truly, deeply evil and not just human beings operating on a human being level. It's really disheartening. So I don't know. I'm looking for ideas. I think there are more and more people, though. I think the radicals on both sides are smaller. I will say that I have a lot of friends and family who are liberals and Republicans, both sides for me. And I'm not hearing there. Of course, there's like one or two that are just like, well, Charlie Kirk got what he deserved, right? I mean, there is that. There's going to be that. And same thing with Paul Pelosi on the right, them laughing and mocking him and saying, oh, well, Paul Pelosi, he got a hammer from his gay lover. Well, that teaches him. I hear that, and I get it that Paul didn't die, but like I said, there have been Democrats who did die of various different acts of violence, and the right wasn't going, this flag half staff for them. So it's really not any different, and you'd be fooling yourself if you thought that it was, that somehow one side is more moral than the other. Neither side is, just different in their morals and values. How do we fix it? I would love to hear from you. I do think it's like the fringe minority that is quite vocal, and I think that most people are quite reasonable. And like I said, I have people on both sides, and most of the liberals that I know have been very upset about Charlie Kirk's death, not celebrating at all, and finding it despicable that some people are celebrating it. And there are liberal Democrats who would say they didn't agree with anything of Charlie Kirk's, but they still are not celebrating his death. I don't think that's the majority at all. And so same thing on the right. I don't think the majority of people on the right are celebrating, Paul Pelosi getting attacked with a hammer or whatever. I don't think they would celebrate if Rachel Maddow was killed. I don't think they would. So I think it is a fringe minority, but they're very vocal, they're very loud, and they do rile people up. And I don't know how, I just, I don't want to feel like there's no hope. It's hard not to. When there was hope, thinking, wow, the Republicans are the ones for free speech and holding on to more American values. And then now I see that same group of people and they've just completely lost the plot. And now they're no longer for American values. They're instead just really no different than the woke left. How do we fix that? How do we fix it? Thank
Very good video. I don't think I've watched a video from Kim Iverson that was so emotional. She definitely had a lot to say about it and had a lot of thoughts in her mind about it. You could tell. Disheartened for sure. But at the same time, I'm disheartened because I want this problem to, this problem with government corruption, this problem where everybody just sort of feels uneasy because they feel like their future is getting ripped away from them because of, globalization, corporate, public-private partnerships getting out of hand to the point that the wealth inequality is just, out of control. Like, I mean, all of this is all around the world, and everybody's feeling the same way about it. It really makes people feel uneasy, and it's sad, for sure, when we see people behaving like hypocrites, because it means that where we thought people were at, they're actually not there yet, right? And it's actually, we might actually be a lot further than where we thought we were. And that's certainly how it feels. But I think it's important to note that at the end of the day, it will get solved. I think the only disheartening thing is the longer we kick the can down the road, the bigger of an adjustment it will need to be, the bigger of a reset it will need to be. Like, for example, if you stamp out corruption in a government where, there's one minister that has a corruption case, you stamp it out, you get rid of it quickly, you're all right. But when the whole system is corrupt, the only solution is a complete revolution. Right? That's what I think. Anyways, interested to know what you guys think. Is there another solution to this? Should I be more positive? Should I be more negative? Interested to know. Give me a like if you like the content, and please subscribe for any future episodes as they become available.